I won't let her go back once she comes. I've waited, not just days, not just months, but through quiet seasons where nothing made sense, where love felt more like a memory than something real. And all this time I held on to one thought: if she ever comes, I won't let her go back. Not because I want to trap her, not because I need to prove something, but because I know what it's like to lose her, even when she wasn't mine yet. She told me she needed time, and I gave it to her. No begging, no pressure, just space, and silence that wasn't empty, just respectful. Because when someone has been through what she has, you don't chase them. You wait for them to feel safe enough to come close on their own. She's been carrying things, heavy things, stories she doesn't tell easily, memories she still hasn't healed from. And I knew, from the moment I first heard her voice, she wasn't someone you love casually. She was someone you build a life for, and then invite her into it once she's ready. So I stayed. I worked on myself. I built peace around me so that when she came, she wouldn't have to guess if I meant it. She messaged me last night. A simple line: "I think I'm ready to come." And I stared at the screen for so long, because my heart was pounding in that quiet, steady way that says, this is the moment you've been preparing for. I didn't flood her with questions. Didn't ask if she was sure. I just replied, "Come home. I'll be here." And now, she's on her way. Not just to see me, not just to visit, but to begin something. And I already know, deep in my chest, once she walks through that door, once she puts her bag down, once she feels the safety I've made for her, I won't let her go back. Not because I'll hold her too tight, but because I'll hold her right. She didn't knock. She just opened the door softly, stepped inside, and stood there. Her eyes scanned the room, not for anything specific, just to take it in, to feel it. Her bag hung from her shoulder, half-zipped. She looked tired, not just from the journey, but from everything that came before the journey. And I didn't say anything right away. I didn't rush, didn't run over, didn't flood her with words. I just stood there across the room and let her breathe. She looked at me then. No smile, no tears, just this look, like she was asking, without speaking, "Is it really okay for me to be here?" I nodded, slow and steady. "You're safe." That's all I said. And that's all she needed. She dropped her bag by the wall, took off her shoes, walked toward me without a word. And then, she rested her head against my chest like her body had been waiting to stop fighting for peace. I wrapped my arms around her gently, not tight, just enough to say, "You don't have to leave again. Not unless you choose to." Her breath slowed against me. Hands curled into my shirt like she wasn't sure how to let go of the tension all at once. Like her body didn't quite believe this was real yet. And I didn't expect it to. Not on the first night. I knew she was carrying years of being let down, of being misunderstood, of being almost loved, but never quite held right. So I didn't try to fix it. I just stayed still, let her rest, let her know through silence, not speeches, that I was here. When she finally pulled back, she looked up at me and whispered, "Are you sure?" I held her face in both hands. "I've never been more sure of anything. You're not here as a guest. You're here because this is your place too now." She closed her eyes. Not because she was emotional, but because I think that was the first time in a long while someone made her feel like she wasn't temporary. And me, I already knew, from that moment on, she wasn't going back. Not because I told her to stay, but because she finally wanted to. The evening didn't feel like a movie. There was no music playing, no candlelight, no slow dance in the kitchen. It was quieter than that, simpler, more real. She sat on the edge of the couch, fingers tracing the rim of a glass of water. Her hair was a little messy from the trip. Eyes softer now, but still carrying that look, like part of her was waiting for something to go wrong. I didn't fill the silence. I let it be there, Because sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to not rush their comfort. I sat across from her and asked one question. Hungry? She smiled a little, barely. Only a little. Mostly tired. So I offered her the quietest kind of love. A blanket. A warm drink. A space she didn't have to explain herself in. I made tea while she stretched out on the couch, arms tucked around a pillow like her body was trying to remember what safety felt like. When I handed her the cup, she took it with both hands and held it to her chest. "This feels weird," she said softly. I sat beside her, close but not too close. "Weird good?" I asked. She nodded after a pause. "Weird. Like I'm waiting to wake up." I didn't say, "This is real." I didn't try to convince her. I just brushed a strand of hair behind her ear and whispered, "Then sleep if you need to. I'll be right here when you wake up." She leaned her head on my shoulder, like her heart had just exhaled for the first time. And that moment, that was everything. Because it wasn't about proving anything. It wasn't about showing her how much I could love her. It was about showing her she didn't have to earn it. She didn't need to be cheerful. She didn't need to be dressed up. She didn't need to give anything back. She could just be. And I would still stay. Because real love doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives with quiet presence. A soft voice. A steady hand. A space that says, "You don't have to run anymore." Morning came slow. The light slipped in through the curtains like it was trying not to wake us. Everything in the room felt still. Like the kind of quiet that doesn't need to be filled. Just felt. She was still asleep, curled up on the couch under the blanket I gave her. Her hand tucked beneath her cheek. Her breathing soft. And I didn't move. I just sat there for a while, watching her sleep like she finally felt safe enough to do it deeply. Not the kind of sleep you have when you're always guarding your heart. But the kind you fall into when you know, even if just for a moment, you're not alone anymore. I got up quietly, made coffee. Didn't want to wake her. But the smell must have reached her first. She stirred a little, blinked her eyes open, and looked around like she was trying to remember where she was. Then she saw me, and I swear, that tiny smile she gave me in that moment. Hair messy, eyes barely open. That was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "Did I really stay?" she asked, voice still sleepy. I nodded. "Yeah, and you can stay as long as you want." She sat up slowly, wrapped the blanket around her shoulders and stretched. Then her eyes met mine again. "It doesn't feel real yet." "It doesn't have to," I said. "We'll take our time. One morning at a time." I handed her a cup. She held it in both hands like she wasn't used to being handed things that didn't come with expectations. And for a while we just sat there, sipping coffee in the quiet. No plans. No rush. Just present. She looked around the room like she was seeing it differently now. Then she said something that caught me off guard. Soft, but heavy. "You made this place feel like I won't have to leave in the middle of the night." I set my cup down, moved closer, and gently said, "That's because you won't. Not unless you want to. I told you, once you come, I won't let you go back." She didn't say anything. She just leaned her head on my shoulder again. And I knew in that moment, the hardest parts of her heart were finally starting to believe me. The rest of the day didn't look like a storybook. It looked like life. She helped fold laundry that wasn't hers. I cooked something simple, just eggs and toast, and I probably overcooked the toast like I always do. But she ate it anyway, smiled and said, "It tastes like real life." We didn't go anywhere. We didn't dress up. We didn't take photos. We just existed in the same space, peacefully. She stood barefoot in the kitchen, hair still undone, looking at the plants on the windowsill like they were the most interesting thing she'd seen all day. And in that quiet moment, watching her lean in close to a little leaf, whispering, "You're still alive, huh?" I felt something I can't really explain. Not fireworks, not butterflies, just calm. Like this is what my life was missing. Not excitement, not perfection, but someone who made the quiet feel full. She moved around the space like she didn't want to take up too much of it, like she was trying to leave a small footprint, just in case she had to go again. But I made sure to leave her signs. A cup already waiting on the shelf she could reach. A sweater folded on the chair she liked. A drawer half empty waiting for her things. Not because I asked, but because she needed to see she belonged here, even if she didn't say it out loud yet. Later that afternoon, she asked if she could do the dishes. I almost said no, not because I minded, but because she didn't need to earn her place here. But I saw it in her eyes. It wasn't about dishes. It was about contribution. It was her way of saying, "Thank you for letting me stay." So I let her. And while she washed, I sat at the kitchen table and watched her hum softly to herself. Like peace was something she was slowly getting used to. Afterward, she sat down across from me. "You really mean it, don't you?" she asked. I didn't ask what she meant. I just nodded. Every word. She looked around again. This space she was slowly starting to trust. And whispered, "I've never had this before." "I know," I replied. And then I reached across the table, took her hand, and said the words I'd been holding since the day she first messaged me. "You don't have to leave to feel safe anymore. You can unpack. You can stay. You can breathe." She didn't cry. She didn't make a speech. She just held my hand a little tighter. And for the first time, she leaned all the way in. That night it rained. Soft, steady drops tapping the windows like a quiet reminder that the world was still spinning. But in here everything felt still. We had no plans. The lights were dim. She was curled up on the couch again, this time more comfortable than before. Legs stretched out, her blanket slipping off one shoulder, hair messy but in a way that looked like home. I sat beside her, flipping through the channels half-heartedly. She leaned her head on my shoulder, barely watching. And then, just like that, we both started laughing, over the worst, cheesiest line in some old show neither of us were really paying attention to. It wasn't a big laugh. Not loud or dramatic. Just real. And that was the moment. Not the laughter itself, but the way she laughed with her whole face, like something inside her had finally unclenched. Like she forgot, just for a second, to hold herself back. She caught her breath and looked at me. Eyes soft. No guard. No shield. Just her. "You're not scared of this, are you?" she asked. I shook my head slowly. "Not even a little." She smiled, but this time it reached deeper. There was something else in her expression now. Not surprise, not fear, but a quiet kind of trust. And then she said it. No dramatic pause. No big build-up. Just a small voice saying something huge. "Maybe I won't go back after all." My chest tightened in the best way. Not because she made a decision, but because she let herself want to stay. I didn't rush in with a reply. Didn't try to lock it in or make it official. I just brushed her hair back gently and whispered, "Then we'll take it one night at a time. No pressure. No deadline. Just stay. As long as it feels right." She leaned in closer, rested her forehead against mine. "Right now, it feels like the only thing that makes sense." And that was all I needed to hear. Because love doesn't always arrive with a grand moment. Sometimes it shows up on a rainy night, on an old couch, in a quiet home where laughter is soft and staying is a choice someone finally feels brave enough to make.